All right. Well, I want to welcome everyone to today's really special class because we have a guest speaker, a colleague of mine, Eddie Kaburski. And without further ado, we're just gonna dive right in here. And here is Eddie. So let's see what he has to say for us.
Well, thank you, Andrea. First, I want to thank my friend Rebecca Rose. Without her, I just wouldn't be here talking with you today. When I was 12 years old, I was physically beamed aboard a starcraft, and I was quite sick. I had double pneumonia, but both my lungs were full of fluid. And essentially, they saved me that day. They beamed me up. I was there for just a short time, and I came back down. And then I actually was taken to the hospital by my father, and at the hospital they said I probably wasn't going to survive the night because of my lungs being full of fluid. But miracles do happen, and so I'm here to talk to you today about it. Um, I'm a advanced propulsion expert. So what is that? What does that mean? Well, I'm here today to bring you a new theory of flight, which is really exciting because we haven't had one in a very long time. And this is called electrogravitics. So what is electrogravitics? Electrogravitics is the electronic control of gravity. It's something that we've been chasing for the last 70 years, and honestly, we achieved it probably in the mid 50s, but it's been under deep military programs, so it just hasn't come out into the public until now. So in 2019, the Navy released these pious patents, and one of the pious patents was anti-gravity. So that's sort of what we're here to bring you today. I have an honors diploma in mechanical engineering technology, and my specialty is theoretical physics and sound research. What I'm going to be showing you later in the presentation is the hover car from Stevati Aerospace. Literally, this is going to be in your guys' future. It's really not that far away, right? So we're here to bring that to you. So we can go to the first picture there if it's loaded up, Andrea.
You're loaded, yeah.
Yeah. I have a deep military background with my family and friends. I was in the Canadian Navy for a short time, and you can see the Honorary Space Force badge emblem behind me here on the wall, which my military friends gave me just because of what I'm actually bringing to you today and talking about. My father was in the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he was connected with NORAD. And what is NORAD? NORAD is the nuclear missile defense for North America. So back in the Cuban Missile Crisis days, it was NORAD against the Russians, essentially. And it was, we almost came to World War III. It was a very serious time. He told me about that. If you look at the picture with all of the military guys, the black and white one, my father from left to right is the first person in the middle row. So, and his name was Ed Kaburski as well. So I'm junior and he's senior, essentially. Another person that was in the Cuban Missile Crisis was my best friend's father, and he's the guy that's in the color picture, and he was in the U.S. Air Force during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he was shot down over the Bay of Pigs and captured, and then actually traded back. So he's a true life Top Gun hero, war hero, whole deal. Same with my father. Those men, they essentially saved the world at that point because we were very close to nuclear war at that point. So it's always an honor to talk about these guys. There's another picture there with one of his planes, my best friend's father's planes that he flew. It's the color picture above. And then there's another picture in the lower left-hand corner, and it's a color picture, and it's kind of hard to see, but the same dome that you see in the black and white picture, well, that's the head of NORAD in the high Arctic. And that picture was actually taken, the color picture was actually taken by my best friend when he was up there flying helicopters. So he landed his helicopter, and that's as close as he could get to the NORAD facility without being arrested, probably. So he took the picture and sent it to me, and it's kind of special because it does show the area that my father was connected to. The next picture we can go to, Andrea, is
I just want to make for our members here, I'm going to email all these pictures to you, so you'll have them as well. So, you know, it can be hard sometimes to see in the chat window. So you'll have these personally, so you can blow them up if you so wish. It takes a wee bit of a time for this one to load, so we should be able to. I just didn't load them too fast and furious. The last time we were going at a great speed, so I didn't at great speed.
Yeah.
So we didn't need to. So it's but this one's actually pretty slow. So I'm gonna wait for this to load. Oh God. There we go. They're loading at great speed. Now they're not loading with great speed. So.
Technology. Okay, so is the helicopter one up?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Air Arctic, and my best friend, he's a retired helicopter pilot, a military helicopter pilot, and his father was the guy that was in the color pictures that was shot down over the Bay of Pigs. He's got 20,000 hours in a helicopter, and that's a lot of flight time, including night vision and all kinds of other things that I can't really talk about. So that was a picture when he was really young. Air Arctic is in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, and they are true legends of the North. They did things that had never been done up there, essentially with planes and helicopters and getting into spots and dealing with our crazy Arctic conditions. You know, it can be minus 60 degrees up there. So, yeah, so he's the one that took the picture of the NORAD dome in the other one there. And if we go on to the next slide, Andrea.
Here we go. Yeah. So they don't take too long to load. So I figure we'll just take our time with each one and as it loads.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, because we had plenty of time. And again, in between slides, if anybody has any questions, feel free to. I think it's up. It is up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so when they split the Northwest Territories apart in 1999, my best friend, he had a big giant GPS box in his helicopter, and he had two scientists in the back seat of the helicopter, and the scientists were telling him, using the GPS box, where to fly. And the flight that they took that day with the helicopter is actually it's on all the world's maps. So they literally laid the boundary out for the new territory, which is called Nunavut. So there's the Northwest Territories, and now there's this new territory called Nunavut. So he was part of that up there in the high north. And helicopters have always been my something that I really love. And one of the things that a helicopter does is called VTOL. It's VTOL, and it stands for vertical takeoff and landing, which is something that we're going to talk more about in this presentation when we start talking about anti-gravity. When I took engineering back in the day, a friend and fellow student actually built a helicopter kit. It came in boxes, and he literally had to build the whole thing, weld it, I mean, the whole thing. And he was a master craftsman. Even back in the day, we were quite young. He was a little bit older than us, and he did such a beautiful job. It was like looking at a show car by the time it was done. And I can remember after he got it all certified and everything, and he had his license, I was one of the first people that actually went flying with him. And a lot of people said, "Wow, are you ever brave to get in a helicopter that's been built by, you know, somebody from boxes?" And I said, "No, I had a look at it. It's meticulous." So he did a wonderful job of that. Yeah, so we can go on to the next slide.
So I said, we'll take our time. We're not in a race. So
Yeah, yeah, if there's any,
as I
if
look,
there's any
and
questions.
if anybody has any questions, as I said again, between these slides while we're waiting for one to load, now come right out and say, speak, because it's anything you'd like to know. So here we go.
Yeah,
I think it's loaded. It takes a week. I think it did. Did it load? I think it's hard to tell sometimes. Doesn't I think nope, it's still loading. All right. Let's see.
okay.
Yeah.
So I know that Andrea had you or watched something about Project High Jump recently. So this slide, next slide that's loading up will have something to do with that,
It's
essentially.
loaded. We are loaded and ready to go.
We're ready to go. Perfect.
Ready to go. Yes.
So this is one of the Nazi flying craft that they had back during World War II, and they were called Hanabu. There was different models, and there was a model of Hanabu 3, which was larger than this one. I think it was 233 feet in diameters and could take 32 people, if I remember correctly. And it also could attain a speed of 25,000 miles per hour, which is really important because we need, I think, 17,500 miles an hour to actually physically get into space. So if it doesn't move fast enough, we're not going to get it out of the atmosphere. And the thing that's really kind of interesting about all of this is I think it's one of William Tompkins' books, but Dr. Sala from Exopolitics, he said that the Germans were on the moon in 1942. That's when we first got to the moon, when the Germans got to the moon. And this is something that has been erased from history or just hasn't been presented to history yet. And it's really kind of important in knowing what the technologies were back in the day. So if we can go to the next one, which should be Carmen.
Yeah, I think Dr. Sala also mentioned too that they had crashed. Some of their missions in these Hanabu were unsuccessful, and they had a couple of crashes as well.
Yes, I think you're correct. I think, yeah, the first one for sure, I know crashed and killed everyone on
Yes.
board. And yeah. The other thing I'll add too is submarines. Submarines have everything that a man needs to survive. The air, everything is in the submarine. So some of the very first spacecraft were actually, once they had anti-gravity and they could float these submarines, they actually used submarines to go out into space. So that was some of our first craft, other than the Germans having the Hanabu, because the Germans were far ahead of us, far ahead of us. It took us quite a while to come along eventually.
Yeah. So next we are loaded. Yeah.
Okay, so this is my dear friend Carmen Miller, and she's standing in front of it's called a machine that her father invented back in the 1980s, and it's called a magnetic over unity motor generator. Over unity means that the machine, once it's started and working, will power itself, but it will produce more power. So you can actually draw energy off of it. And that's what over unity means. And he was some of the first people to do all of this research, her father. So I went to high school with Carmen in the 1980s in Penticton, British Columbia, Canada, and became dear friends with her and the whole family. So I've known them pretty much my whole life, essentially. And if we get on to the next picture,
Yeah, going. Here we
be,
go.
yeah, it should be
Bill.
yeah, Bill. So
Mr.
this is Bill
There,
Mueller.
almost. He's slow. Bill is slow today. He's
Oh, okay. He's
it
coming.
just takes a few minutes for these to.
Yeah, no worries.
There I think. Yeah, he's up. There he is.
Okay, perfect. Um, this is Bill Mueller, who is Carmen's father. And I personally knew Bill. In fact, in a lot of ways, he mentored me with free energy, and and even some of the anti-gravity stuff, because Bill was in the Hitler Youth during World War II. Now, not by his choosing, of course, and you can imagine if you didn't want to be there, they would probably just get rid of you somehow. So he had no choice in the matter. But what was really spectacular about this is he learned all of the technologies. He literally knew how that Haunebu spacecraft flew, and not too many people understood all of this stuff. So he came across, moved to Penticton, and started his family, and totally got away from all of that stuff, but really worked on free energy his whole life, essentially. So the machine that is in front of Carmen in that other picture, on my 50th birthday, the day after my birthday party, I flew down to Penticton with all my friends down there. And the day after my birthday party, I said to Carmen, I said, when was the last time you ran your dad's machine? And she said, oh, it's been like at least a decade. And I said, well, why don't we start this thing and, show some people and whatnot. So the next day we went over and actually had that exact machine running, essentially. And I know that Carmen is actually currently working on a new prototype of that machine at this point. So that's something that we might talk about later in later talks as well as we go down the road. But Bill is very important, because Bill, if we can go to the next one.
It was almost.
Yeah.
Die Glock.
Bill, the Glock, yeah.
Here it comes.
And the Glock is in German. I think that's sort of the German name for it.
German?
Yeah.
It's still loading.
And,
we're getting there.
okay.
There we are.
No problem.
There we go.
Perfect. So so the Glock, but that's in German. Most people know this. They call it the Bell. And if you do want to do some more research into it, it's probably easiest to find it under the Bell, but Die Glock is actually more the proper name. Bill Mueller saw the Bell. He saw the Bell operating, because I was on the radio show. Frank Chili asked me on a radio show, and I had said that I thought that Bill had seen some of the German flying craft. And after the radio, Frank said, Ed, did he actually see it? And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to talk to Carmen. And so I did about a month ago. And Carmen told me that her father actually did see the Bell. So he physically saw this functioning. The Bell is really important because this is the very first real anti-gravity experiment. But what's even more important about the Bell is it was actually a time experiment in some ways too, that leads to Montauk and some of these other things as well. So the Bell is pretty important in all of everything, and knowing somebody that actually saw it operate. This is why I was sort of mentored by Bill Mueller, and have known how these things have operated for a very, very long time. But it's truly amazing that we're actually able to actually come out and start talking about this stuff now. But it's all technology that's going to be in your guys' very near future. And in just a few more slides, we're actually going to show you what you're actually going to see down the road. So yeah, if we can go to the next one with Paul.
Paul is loading. We're waiting for Mr.
Paul is loading.
Paul is loading. Yeah, he passed away fairly young. I was a surprise when he.
Yeah. Paul passed away on December 19th of 2022.
Wow. Yeah, I know.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Paul was a very interesting gentleman. Paul was an astrophysicist, but Paul was also a quantum physicist. So Paul studied the very, very large, the planets and everything and the universe, but he also studied the very, very small. And Paul asked a very, very, very important question. He said, what makes up the quantum? So we've got this quantum level and we're doing all these technologies with it, but what actually are the building blocks of the quantum? So Paul came up with something called subquantum kinetics. It's a theory, and it's actually a theory of everything. It does explain everything. But in this case, I'll more talk about how it works with anti-gravity, because that's sort of what we're talking about today. Yeah, he basically wanted to know what makes up the quantum. So subquantum kinetics, subquantum means below the quantum level, and kinetics just means it's moving. Kinetics is a wave. It just means it's moving. So the very, very building blocks of our universe is actually something called a Turing wave, and it vibrates between space-time and time-space. So it just vibrates and oscillates, and it essentially is the building blocks of everything. And indeed, that wave is actually nothing but sound. Sound, everything is actually sound, frequencies. That is what builds everything in our universe. So the subquantum kinetics theory really dives into that. And indeed, it actually predicts anti-gravity. So yeah, if we're going to the next one, which should be my...
Yep. Yeah, that's fantastic. It's almost ready.
So I studied Paul's work for a very long time, and I think it was in 2017, I decided to put it on paper, what I knew from his work and everything. And what you see there is the front cover of something that I released April 1st of 2021. I released 80 pages of handwritten notes from Paul Violet's work on anti-gravity, and some of my other research as well. It's sort of all in there. And essentially, it explains how anti-gravity works. So I released those papers back about 2.5 years ago. And when I did that, I sent an email to Dr. Sala. And Dr. Sala is exopolitics. That's what he does. And I asked a lady named Elena Denon to ask someone called Thorhan Iridian if the world is ready for this information. So it's on the email that you guys have there.
Yeah. So we have David Wilcock next, but I'll throw up the other one. So they don't know who Thorhan is. I briefly mentioned Elena and Thorhan, but
okay, very cool.
So here's the email there. Yeah.
I'll explain a little bit about who Thorhan is. When I first actually found out about Thorhan, I knew that he was working with Space Force. What I didn't know about Thorhan was, at that point in time, Thorhan is a fleet commander. And since then, he's got a promotion, but he was a fleet commander back in the day. And Thorhan is a fleet commander for the Galactic Federation of Worlds. So what is that? There is a military alliance, essentially, between Space Force and the Galactic Federation. And there is a spokesperson that essentially works between Space Force and the Galactic Federation, plus she releases information. And I just mentioned her name. Her name is Elena Denon. Elena is actually the emissary for the Galactic Federation of Worlds. So again, she's like the spokesperson between what they're doing and helping us, because they're here to help us tremendously with technologies and all kinds of other things that are happening in our world. So I essentially asked the question, is the world ready for this? And as we move on, you'll find out the answer. So yeah, if we go on to the next slide.
David Wilcock?
Yeah, David Wilcock.
I'm one ahead of you.
Oh, perfect.
I went. Now it's not moving, but is this slide for those on the chat? Now my thing is sticking for some reason again. I don't know why it does that. But it's just the letter before. There's 3 little letters. So that would be the one that we're on next. So
yeah,
we're ready to go then.
Okay, so the so the Zoom call, and this is really, really special. On October 30th of 2021, I was on a Zoom call with David Wilcock when he told us, there's a group of us, that he had bought Stevati Aerospace to produce hover cars using anti-gravity technology. Now, this got my juices flowing because I've been dealing with this stuff for a very, very long time. And for those of you that don't know who David Wilcock is, if you've ever watched Ancient Aliens, the show on History Channel, I believe it is, he was the host of the show for over 100 episodes. And also, there's a great movie. We'll talk more about William Tompkins in next presentations, but there's a great movie that David Wilcock produced called Above Majestic that had William Tompkins in it and David Wilcock in it, and they do talk about the space programs and a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today. So he's actually the owner of Stevati Aerospace. So yeah, the next one will be Dr. Sala.
We did Dr. Salas. Now we're on the hover car.
Oh,
so we should
okay,
probably move. We're running a little bit
so
longer, so if we could shoot to the hover car,
okay.
shoot to the,
Okay,
we're waiting
perfect.
for that to load, so to speak.
Yeah. So yeah, so you guys can read the email that I had sent to Dr. Sala and talking about Elena and Thorhan. So the next day, so this one should be the theory of anti-gravity.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the next day, on October 31st of 2021, I on the owner's forum, David Wilcock, I posted the theory of anti-gravity, which you guys have there. And it's according to subquantum mechanics from Paul Laviolette's work. So essentially, I talk a lot about Paul there. I talk about how I nicknamed Paul Tesla 2.0 because essentially Paul finished Nikola Tesla's work. So it's a pretty important thing. Essentially, what they do to make them fly, just very simply, we create a hole or well in front of the spacecraft so that it actually physically just wants to fall into it. And then we create a wave of energy behind it to push it along. And this is essentially how it works. We've found to fly them. The most elegant description I have is we swim them through the ether. And that goes back to the ether physics of Nikola Tesla. So yeah, so onto the hover car.
It's ready to go.
It's loaded up.
He's loaded and ready. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I'm so excited to show you guys. This is the hover car from Stevati Aerospace, literally. It is called the SM2032. That is the model number. They've already have a model number of it for it. It's a four-seater that has, there's lines on the wings that you can see, and that's so that the wings can fold up and it can be put in a garage. So it's about the size of a car, essentially. If we go on to the next one.
Yes. Yeah, that's going to be available shortly.
Yeah, the hover car, the 2032 part is probably our something that they kind of are letting out. It hopefully will be sooner than 2032 because I do know that they've got prototypes and stuff already. But you know, so it's in your very near future. So instead of you guys buying cars down the road, you'll be buying a hover car. And one thing that Chris Beskar has said repeatedly, and Chris Beskar is the designer of the hover car, he's repeatedly said that the hover car will be the price of a Honda sedan. Yeah. So it won't be overly expensive, right? Yeah. So yeah, on the next one.
We are ready. We are ready.
Okay.
Hey, we are.
So this is actually, you guys can go find this, and you guys should go have a look at Stevati Aerospace on Twitter or X now. This was a posting, I can't remember, it might even have been a year ago already. It goes back a ways. But like it says there, it says it's a 4-seat, zero emission, vertical takeoff and landing, personal air vehicle now under development. So the other thing I can tell you guys is the hover car will never need to be plugged in. It will have a mini nuclear fusion generator, which is something that came out of the Navy PIAS patents, along with the anti-gravity technology. And it will have enough power to, say, take your hover car luxury camping if you wanted to, because you can hover, you can go anywhere now, right? So you can take this thing, and if you wanted to bring your big screen TV, I don't know why you would ever do that, but you could plug it in, and you could plug in your coffee maker for coffee in the morning. I live in a small cabin up in near Alaska, and it could power this whole cabin up. So the hover car could be outside, plugged into this cabin, powering up the whole cabin, and it's free. That's why we call it free energy. You're never going to have to pay for power again. So it's something fantastic that's in your guys' near future. The next one here.
We're loading. We're almost ready for Chris.
Perfect.
Chris,
So the next slide, or the next one here, is Chris Beskar. Chris Beskar is the CEO of Stevati Aerospace. He was introduced to us as the premier builder of spacecraft in the world. And in later presentations, we'll go into why we say that. But for now, what you need to know is he's the man that, when he worked at Area 51, he designed the technology that is going to make the hover car work. So that's also why his company is now bringing them out, or will bring them out in the very near future. Yeah, originally it was very, very interesting to find out about this, and I've known about it for a couple of years now. So to actually bring this to you guys and to be able to talk about it and show you the hover car is something fantastic. And this all leads into what we'll present next time, which is something that you guys have already seen, because Andrea said that you saw the Solar Warden, the French Solar Warden one. And this next slide is just a picture of one of the Solar Warden craft being built. So this is proof that, you know, the secret space program is a real thing, right? As we go along, we'll be talking more about a gentleman named William Tompkins. William Tompkins is the man that created the secret space program, the whole Solar Warden program. I can just go on and on and on about Tompkins, and we will later. And we've got something really special to present to you. It's Tompkins' work, you know, which is something fantastic. It's something that I originally sent to Andrea when we were talking about doing these presentations and whatnot. Yeah, so there's some really, really fantastic technology in your guys' future. And I'm really happy to be able to bring it and tell you about it today, because it really is going to be within the next 10 years. You're literally going to see hover cars. They will fly, and they'll have a maximum altitude of about 2,500 feet as a hover car, only because if you go higher than that, you need to have a pilot's license. So if you want to fly them, I would imagine you get a pilot's license and you can fly it. It will go 250 miles an hour. I know that part. Andrea asked me before if a bale of hay would fit.
I'm shaking.
How many bales of hay would fit in there? And I said, it's a 4-seater, so it's like, you know, 4 persons. So I would think 2 bales of hay per person, so maybe 8 bales. Yeah. And then I said to her, but maybe not a big round bale, right? Maybe that could go on the top of it or something.
You could strap that on top.
Yeah. Other things to know about Chris Beskar is, if anybody's watched Mandalorian on Star Wars, they have something called Beskar armor that they wear. Well, guess who built that armor for the movie? Chris Beskar. The Stevati organization is a huge organization. A lot of the people that came out of Lockheed, the the Skunk Works, which was the original guys that built the SR-71 spy plane and the U-2, and they actually had Area 51 built. A lot of the people that came out of there actually worked for the Stevati organization. Because what happened with Chris Beskar is I got a phone call one day from the chief scientist of Stevati. His name is Dr. Depak. And I talked to him for about half an hour. And then on the drive home, Chris Beskar actually texted me. So that's actually what you saw there. That's from Chris Beskar. And then after that, we went back and forth with emails, and I have his personal email and everything. And as a matter of fact, I'm probably going to be sending this presentation, Andrea, to Chris Beskar and David Wilcock, because I told them, I did talk about them on the radio show that I was on January 13th of 2023. And I told Chris that I would sort of let him know what I was doing and not try to release too many of his secrets either. Chris Beskar is actually working on the replacement for the F-35 fighter at this point. And I believe it might be anti-gravitic as well. It would be fully anti-gravity as well, I think. I could be wrong about that. Chris Beskar also, the helmet that the guys wear when they fly the F-35 fighter right now, Chris Beskar designed that helmet. And it has consciousness technology in it where they can think about sending a missile or doing something, and they don't have to deal with it. They just think about it and it goes. So the technology that they're working with is incredible. And the man is a genius. There's no doubt about that. When I first heard about him being the premier builder of spacecraft in the world, it took me 2 years of research to actually say yes. And now I'm saying it to you guys, you know, at a university. So I've got a lot of facts that back it up. And Andrea actually knows because she's got a lot of the information as well. Yeah. So yeah, if there's any other questions or anything, I know we're pretty close to the end here.
Yeah, well, we do have time. I'll check mine. You know, I can't look at people with my glasses on, and I can't read without. I know I'm like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, we have a little bit of time left. Yeah. So, well, I think what you had mentioned, you know, about evidence, you know, for the work that we do in the field that we do of exopolitics, and also the science side of that. You know, there's just volumes of information. Volume. I mean, I don't even know if one person could even go through. I mean, we look at Dr. Greer. I mean, 30 years of work. And we looked at one of his book Disclosure. I just briefly showed, we didn't get to go into it too much because time. But, you know, that's only information from 2000 and it's already like this thick. So you can imagine what information of eyewitness accounts, testimony from the military and from airline pilots on UAP. You know, by now this book's going to be, you know, and we're going to do Brazil. So.
Dr. Greer said at one point, because I haven't talked to him personally yet, but I have been in communication with his guys. Yeah. He said that he has, I think if the number is correct, 935 witnesses that work in deep projects and know about stuff that I'm talking about, right? All of the real true knowledge of it all. He has over 900 people that are witness to this. So what Andrea is saying is, there's tons and tons and tons of evidence. And it's really, truly at this point in history that we're all, like Andrea said, this is kind of historical, and it really, truly is, because we're at a point where the technology has been suppressed, but now it's being released. And I mean, I know of, or I work with and know of other people that are working directly with these technologies. Something that we might talk about a little bit later, Dr. James Schwartz. Yeah. He's a friend of Dan Willis, and James Schwartz, he's got this a thing at home that he built that powers up his whole house. It's like a generator, and you never have to plug it in or anything, and it's a free energy, and it powers up his whole house. And I was talking to him. He just bought a new property, and he's going to build, and that's 7,000 watts. So that's like a large generator running, you know, people know what a generator looks like. but he's going to build a 1 megawatt one, 1 million watts, which is huge. So that's something that would be put on the grid, so that, you know, in the future, our grid could be powered up by free energy, essentially. One thing that Chris Beskar said was, in the future, we will have so much energy we won't know what to do with it, literally, because the amount of energy that comes out of these little fusion generators is incredible. The Navy has one that's the size of a basketball, and it produces 1 terawatt. So what is that? Well, a terawatt is 1,000 gigawatts. And to put that in perspective, the largest nuclear plant that you guys have in the States is Palo Verde. It produces 4 total. And this thing produces 1,000. It's this size, the size of this. So what's going to happen is, because energy is going to become so much cheaper, the production of products out there come from, a lot of the costs come from energy, whether it's shipping them around or building it, or the lights are on, or whatever. I think they say about 75% of the cost comes from that. So if you take energy out of the equation and make it just a tiny little thing, the cost of everything should start coming down. And you won't have to plug in your hover car. You won't ever have to buy gas. You won't. So this is how we're going to change the economy. So what I'm talking about is truly a revolution in what you guys are going to see in your future. I'm just happy that it's happening in my lifetime, because I actually never thought it would, to be honest with you. But I'm very, very, very happy to actually bring this to you, and to be able to bring this to you. And, you know, I have to thank Andrea for that. I don't know if Andrea's told you, but we're in the same group with a gentleman named Dave Rossi. And Dave is a fellow Canadian like me. And Dave, both Dave and I are actually trying to release the science of it. Because once the science of all of this is out there, then the whole world is gonna prosper from it, essentially, right? So that's sort of been my mission for, this has been 8 years, but truly I've been working on this for about going on 40 years now. So to be able to actually talk to you today, this is the first time I've ever done a presentation like this. Last night I was telling Andrea how freaked out I was. I totally was, but it's all good now. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions about the hover car or anything?
Yeah, we have to run like in 3 minutes, so
Oh,
I don't
okay.
want to rush anybody, but if we do have a question, they can throw it out now. But you can definitely send me questions, because I'll be able to harangue you know, Eddie later. So
Yeah.
just ask any, and we'll be meeting again too with our you know, more tech-based Zoom call. So yeah, any questions you have, just email me and we will send those on. I also want to remind everyone here that Monday is a holiday, so we won't meet again until Wednesday. You will get material again on Friday. But I want to, you know, we have to run now. So I want to thank all of our colleagues today, joining us today. And also we want to have a special thanks for Eddie and all this fantastic material, and for him giving us the luxury of enjoying his time today. So we will say goodbye to all of our participants, since they have to run to their next class, of course, right? And Eddie and I will clean this video up and get ready for Plan B.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.